yours this.
Happy Saturday, everybody. I have a new email client that plays me music. So, welcome. Happy Saturday, everybody. We're here today with Daniel. My producer was going to be here, but he hasn't shown up tonight. So, oh, yeah, he's asking me if it's stream time. Yep, we're live. So he'll come in a minute. Vonda, hello. Georges, good to see you. Hello, everybody. So Vonda, I actually, on my list of things to talk about tonight, I have some questions from you that I will answer a little later. If I can get Word to come up and tell me what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about lots of things. I will, thank you, Vonda. Hey, Michael, last Saturday in the United States, eh? So, Timothy is here. Hey, Timothy. Timothy is our producer. He's in the background. He does have our list of questions for tonight. And he will be moderating the chat. And he will be starring questions, and we will get your questions a little later in the stream. Linda, hello, good to see you. Yeah, so Michael will be traveling to Russia tomorrow with his son.
Oh,
His wife
really?
is staying behind for the moment, but he's coming over and will be arriving down in my end of the country.
Right.
Close to my end of the country.
Is he vacation or he's planning on moving here?
They're planning on moving here, so.
Wow.
Yeah, so I talked to Michael quite a bit. Good guy. So we have some laws, and some of the people have been asking these questions specifically in my Telegram channels, yours, Daniel, and as usual, I expect you will have some questions that I would not think of answering if it were not for you being here. So let's dig right in. First one I want to mention is self-registering in Russia at an apartment you've rented, because I see all kinds of people with this attitude about, I'm going to come to Russia, and if I rent a place and the landlord won't register me, I'm going to self-register and make them register me. And ooh.
Hold on, yeah, let me just give me one sec.
So, on self-registration, yes, the law says landlords must register you, hotels must register you, and if not, if you have a rental contract, you can self-register yourself. However, life in reality and life according to the law does not always march one and one in Russia. Most hotels will register you if you stay at them. Before you make a registration at a hotel, make sure they will register you. They will, if they say yes, they will give you the slip the next morning, and you're all fine as long as you don't leave the hotel for another address. Time out?
No, this is in Russian schools how you raise your hand.
Okay.
That's what my children first
Yep.
grade, second, third, fourth grade. Question, Kevin. So who are you speaking of? People with visas only or with residency or even when they get their citizenship?
Well, citizens, of course, you have to be registered at an address, but you can go elsewhere in the country and you don't have to worry about re registering as long as you're registered at an address. So this has to do with tourists coming in, it
Hmm.
has to do with people with residency. Now,
Gotcha.
a lot of people have asked me, gee, I'm coming over on the new shared value visa and I want to, you know, go down and apply for residency right away. And that's fine and dandy. You can do that while you're registered at a hotel. And immigration will generally, I won't say all regions, but most, will take a hotel registration as your legal address.
Mm.
If you then find a place to live and and you get registered there, then you have to go down and you have to change it with immigration. So, but we have this new self-registration rule that says you can take a lease down to the multifunction center and you can register yourself. However, I'm going to give you two cases of people that I know that have gone through this recently. One is a couple in Nizhny, went there with their children, and they went to the multifunction center and they told them that they didn't know how to do that. Go to the
Mm.
police department. So they went to the police department. The police department turned them down based on their rental agreement was a short-term rental agreement, and they could
Wow.
not register with a short-term rental agreement. It had to be listed as specifically as a long-term rental agreement.
Hmm.
So they had to go back to the landlord again, get another rental agreement, went back to the police. The police rejected it again because it only listed the gentleman on the lease because he's the one who signed it and paid the money. It has to
Ah,
list everybody in your family on the lease or they will not register everybody.
wow.
And then they went down and they actually did it at the police department and with their passport and visa numbers on the lease, and they got self-registered. Now, in the second case, this was just last week. Young lady that I know that lives in Moscow. She went to two different multifunction centers in Moscow. Neither one of them knew how to do it. Well, it's because the multifunction centers don't do registration. Is what you have to do is you have to go to the Ministry of Internal Affairs or Immigration, and they should do it for you. She brought the law with her, and they said, sorry, we can't help you, we won't do it. So she did get advice from a lawyer who said, unfortunately, the territorial bodies do not do this, and they refer to their internal regulations, which are not above the law. Not a helpful comment from a lawyer.
Mm.
So you either have to go to the Ministry of Internal Affairs or Immigration, and you have to register there. But you do need a lease, and it has to be a long-term lease, and it has to list everybody in your family that's applying for residency. So
So, Kevin,
that's yeah.
it must be difficult. Look, I'm living here 13 years and I went through all the different processes. And 13 years ago was a whole different world than it is today.
Absolutely.
But the people that are helping foreigners to come here, I'm in Moscow, but if you go somewhere else in the country or even go to the village, it's a whole different mentality. It's a whole different process. So how
Yep.
the people that are helping foreigners come here, how do they know like how do they know like what information to give them it's different in different regions of the country.
Well, the federal law spells out what documentation they need, and it spells out that you have to go to immigration to do the registration. So it's really a situation where people need to do a little more research. The people in Nizhny actually knew what they had to do. It's just that it was, you know, they weren't told that it has to state that it's a long-term rental agreement, that it has to have everyone on it. So these aren't always clear in Russian laws. I've had this discussion with Maria Butina, and she is working to, make people aware of this. But a lot of people that are coming are relying on people like you and I to help them. Eddie, other people. People come to Crimea, we know how to get them registered or where to get them registered.
Hmm.
Timothy says you have a big echo on your side, Daniel.
I
So
I know I'm hearing myself. I don't know what to do.
let's see if that helps. Um, so, Andy, hey. So, I am going to. Oh, Christopher, hello. And yeah, Christopher, you'll have to cough up an address to register at or a hotel. So, now, define finished, Christopher. Christopher says their house in Istra isn't finished. My wife and I were living in our house when we had simply the attic floor finished. We were sleeping up there, we were eating up there, we were cooking up there. The rest of the house was bare bones. Floors weren't done, no heat, nothing. So, finished is a relative term, especially in Russia. So, I am going to give a plug to Andy. He is doing a stream on the 16th at noon, 1200 o'clock military time, in Moscow time. And he is going to talk about expats, which are worse than Russians are, and what some of the things he sees behind it and everything. I took it upon myself to give Andy a plug here because these are some of the things we talk about, Daniel, you, me, and Eddie. So, I encourage everybody to go out there, sign up for his channels. He sees at 928 subscribers. Let's get him to 1,000. But good man, good streams, good information, and I look forward to this stream myself. I will probably have input to give to him afterwards. So, there's his advertisement from YouTube today, and let's see, I have him under this other channel. Here's the YouTube channel to go to, at the Afrolev. So that's where you can find Andy. And like I say, on the 16th, which is what, 5 days from now? So about Thursday. And I have rumor that he's going to be breaking the news on some Maidan stuff in a week or so as well. So if you want to see interesting stuff like that, that's the place to go.
I'd like to
So,
actually I'd like to actually be a part of one of his podcasts.
you have to talk to Andy about that.
Yeah, all right, Tom.
Yep. So anyway, yes, as Christopher's saying, Timur Beslongurov has a list of landlords that will register. I also have access to a realtor that works for a company that covers a good portion of Russia that can assist people too with places they can be registered. And that actually comes by way of the way home or Put Domoy from one of my producers, Jay. And so if you need help getting registered somewhere, just ping us. We can make it happen. So, the second thing, and this is a big one right now for people, SIM cards for, they've been terming it SIM cards for tourists, but it's not SIM cards for tourists. It's SIM cards for foreigners. This does not apply to Russian citizens. This new law is to combat fraudsters and gray SIM cards. And this is primarily because there's a lot of SIM cards being purchased and brought across the border to country 404, where they're then calling in and making fraudulent phone calls and scamming people out of money. So this is really meant to combat that. So it does apply to those who have residency permits, those who are here on asylum status, anybody who's not a citizen. You have to have a registered SIM card. And I'll talk about people who are coming as tourists first. You have to buy a SIM card in person. You can no longer buy an eSIM on the website and get it emailed to you, although you can get an eSIM in the cell phone store. One person can register no more than 10 SIM cards, including if they're a corporation. To get a SIM card, you must have a SNILS, a Gus Slugi account, and the biometrics card that you now get issued when you come into the country. And it has to be registered in the Unified Biometrics System. And when you sign the contract for the SIM card, it will indicate the IMEI number of the phone it will be used in. And if the SIM card is installed in another phone, the SIM card will be deactivated. So, in short, the process will be you have to get a notarized translation of your passport. You then have to go get a SNILS, which is like the Russian Social Security number. And you can get that at the pension office or at a multifunction center if your region has one. Not all regions have them, Crimea does not. You have to provide a valid email address that will be used for the registration on Gosaslugi. This cannot be a Gmail account. I don't know why they called Gmail out and not other Western emails, but it cannot be a Gmail account. You then have to get a Gosaslugi account, and information on obtaining this differs if you already have a Russian SIM card or if you don't. The link on the information is in the description of this video, and you then have to submit your biometric data at the multifunction center or at select banks. Sberbank is a bank you can do this at. Then you take all that information, the stamped papers and everything, the IMEI number from your phone, and you go to the mobile operator's office to conclude a contract. So to get a SNILS, like I say, you go to the Social Security office, you have to have your passport, notarized translation, your migration card, and your registration. Getting your SNILS, it can be issued immediately or can take up to 5 days. After you register on Gosaslugi, you have to check and make sure that your SNILS data matches your passport data and your SNILS data in Gosaslugi because, like in my case, one of the numbers was mixed up. So current foreigners who have SIM cards already must confirm their identity at the phone stores with all of this information before July 1st, or your SIM card will be turned off. So again, all the information on the regulations is in the description below. Georgius says he bought a SIM card from MTS in Moscow a year ago, and you're keeping the number active while you're away. You have to come back before July 1st and provide the SNILS, the Gosaslugi account, all that information, or they will disable your card.
Kevin, what is biometrics?
That's this green card that they started requiring about a year ago for people who come into the country for more than 90 days. And in Moscow, Eddie's shown his. Moscow, you guys, residents have a red card that's
Mhm.
apparently the same thing. Us citizens like you and I don't have to worry about things like that.
Mhm.
So, doesn't matter if you're a tourist here for 10 days, you have to go down, you have to get the biometrics done. And they're doing them at some airports at this point. You will not be able to get off the plane and buy a SIM card. Nope, the biometric card is completed at some of the airports right now. I believe I don't know if it's Sheremetyevo or what's the other big one in Moscow, Daniel?
You have Sheremetyevo, you have
Vanu- Domodedva. Yeah. No, the
Domodedovo.
other one. The one Putin
Uh,
flies into. Starts with a
which
V.
one? Oh,
Yeah, that one.
Vnuka, I think.
Vnukovo or something like that.
Vnukovo, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So if you can't get it there, I know in Crimea, when you come here, if you're flying to Sochi, you don't get it. If you come to Crimea, you actually have to go to, it's an immigration office that the FSB runs in the immigration center to get the biometric card.
So for somebody like myself, I don't know what that is. What are they doing? Are they taking blood from you? Are they taking your DNA? Like what is a biometrics card?
They take your photo, they take your fingerprints, and they do the photo and the fingerprints at in Simferopol anyway at the this special office. And then you
Right.
have to go to the local police department, give it to them, and they actually issue this card to you at the local police department. And it's
So
just a card that the police can scan and it tells them who you are. It's got your passport information, it's got your fingerprints, it's got, you know, all
kind of
that
like kind of like a driver's license in America.
kind of.
I mean, we don't use passports in America.
Right.
You know,
So it's similar
some
to that. It says that you're in the country legally and that you're in the register, the official biometric registry. So if you commit a crime, they will find you.
Mhm.
So, like I say, some of the airports are doing it. I don't know
Mhm.
how long the card is valid for. Michael, I do not. Your best bet is when you get to Sochi. If you're staying in the Sochi area, it's where you'll have to do it. Ask the guys at Passport Control. They will be happy to tell you, or you'll have to go to immigration and ask them.
Mm.
So,
But that's a good question. How long, Kevin, could a card like that be valid for? If you think about it.
no clue.
Yeah.
As far as I know, you don't have to renew it if you leave and come back. But I've heard some people say it has to be renewed annually. I don't know. And this red card in Moscow might be different than the green card in the rest of the country. That's something I can't answer for people right now.
Yeah. Everything's different in Moscow.
Everything's different in Moscow. So,
Kevin, we have +4 today and rain on January 11th.
yeah, and we have +8 in rain.
We, you're down, you're south, you're southwest, right?
Yeah, it was 17 yesterday, so
Oh,
and sunny.
nice.
Oh, okay. So, now bank accounts. People get concerned if I can't get a SIM card right away, how do I open a bank account? Because like Sberbank requires a Russian phone number. Alpha Bank does not. Alpha Bank will open an account for you as long as you have a phone number that works in the Russian Federation. So, That can be T-Mobile, Google Fi, AT&T, or Verizon. They all have international roaming that works in Russia. I haven't actually asked Spurbank. They may be willing to take a U.S. based card telephone number as well, as long as you can receive an SMS on it, especially in light of the new rules. So I still recommend people go to Spurbank. They are the most Western friendly bank in the country, or I should say Westerner friendly bank. So check with them, explain with the new laws that, hey, you've got a U.S. number, can receive it. It's probably not an issue. But Alpha Bank doesn't require a phone number at all. So, yes. So, yeah, Vanuco, Timothy, thank you.
Yeah,
So
Vanuco.
Timothy's telling me dial star pound 06 pound to get the IMEI off of your phone when you need it. So I'll put that in the chat here. Star pound uh, 06
So
pound.
I I received an email a couple of days, or maybe 2 days ago, from a gentleman in Brazil. He's Brazilian, and he wants to come to Moscow and to St. Petersburg this summer. So I told him I would meet him at the airport, help him out. So he's all excited. He was asking if he'll be able to survive with just English. So I told him, all the transportation hubs and the trains and the planes, it has English. And Moscow and St. Petersburg, you have a good chance, less of a problem with just speaking English.
Yeah, and in Crimea, you won't have a problem with English because everybody speaks English whether they tell you they do or not. It's basically an old Soviet military peninsula, so
Yeah, but it's nice. It's nice if you have somebody in a country where you're going for the first time, maybe like a friend or family, or just somebody who might meet you and just show you around a little bit, get you to your hotel maybe.
Yep.
It takes away some of the maybe anxiety you might have.
Yep. Okay, so next thing is if you're going to rent a car and drive in Russia, traffic fines have been increased by 1.5 times if you drive in Russia.
What's going on with that, Kevin? Oh my God.
People
If
are
you didn't
just
have a license, it was 500 rubles. Now it's like 5,000 rubles.
Yeah, well, hey, I know a speeding ticket because one of my contractors got a speeding ticket in my car. It cost me $750. It will now cost me like $1,250. So,
Wow.
and driving without both hands on the steering wheel. The law comes into effect on March 1st. That means you cannot be holding your telephone, texting. You cannot be drinking a cup of coffee or a
Wow.
bottle of water. Keep your hands at 10 and 2. If they have a speed camera and it catches you and your hands are not at 10 and 2 when you go by that camera, you will get a ticket.
Wow.
So this is how they're combating people not paying attention, talking on their cell phones, things like that.
Well, how about women when they're putting on makeup before they get to work?
Well, that was on my list too. Do not put your makeup on in the car. If you're sitting at a stoplight, putting your makeup on, and there's a camera there, you just got a ticket.
Well, even if you're at a stoplight, really?
Absolutely. You're on the road, you're supposed to be paying attention. Because what
Wow.
if somebody comes around the corner and is swerving and going to hit you? Or somebody hits you from behind and you're not paying attention and you don't
Well,
have your
I
foot.
agree.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
you're in a car. All you should be doing
You're-
is paying attention and driving, nothing else.
that's right. So now, if you don't drive, you're not safe either.
Wait, Why?
If you jaywalk, the fine is now 2,000 rubles for jaywalking.
Really?
Cross at the crosswalks. If you don't cross at the crosswalk, you get a 2,000 ruble fine.
Cross at the green, not in between.
That's right. Now, this one, I can't wait to pull this one out all over the place, especially in the medical facilities in Crimea. Leaking personal information of any kind. If you and I, Daniel, give out personal information on this stream about somebody we know in Russia or somebody in the channel, medical facilities, they're notorious in Crimea. I don't know about Moscow, but you go into the doctor's office and they have patients' files all over their desks. And you can sit there and you can be talking to the doctor and you can read those patient files while you're sitting there. Leaking personal information is now punishable by a fine of 300 to 400,000 rubles,
Whoa.
community service, and or jail time for up to 4 years.
Wow.
So they're finally getting serious about personal information.
Yeah, good.
And this is partially because, again, all of the people who, are calling and scamming people.
Yeah.
So Timothy asked, how if you drive a manual car, how does
You
one
have to,
change the gears?
right. You have to let go to change the gears. That's why I'm saying I don't understand. You know, I understand if they see coffee in your hand or you're on the phone or you're reading a newspaper or something or doing makeup, but you
Shift
should be able.
quickly.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, could we cover how personal information of Russian citizens gets leaked by sold databases and used by scammers? Yeah, boy, can I speak to that. My wife and I, when we bought her car in 2019 at a new car lot, we bought it in her mother's name because we were not residents. And if you're not a resident and you buy a car, it can only be registered as long as your migration card says you're allowed to be in the country. So if you leave for a week and you come back, you have to go through the registration process again. So we bought it in her mother's name and with my wife's phone number, and all of a sudden we started getting phone calls from various banks saying that we had financed our car through this car dealership and they want copies of our passports and proof of our bank account and that we had the money, where the money came from, all this stuff. Car dealers are the worst in Russia for leaking that information. Now that I've bought a car in my name here, her car is in her name now. We still get calls in her mother's name. Now that I bought a car in my name, I'm getting these calls. And it's always Spurbank, Alpha Bank, or Tinkoff. And I know for a fact it's not Spurbank and Alpha Bank because they don't call their clients. So if you're in Russia and you get a call and it says, this is so-and-so from Spurbank, we need this information, don't believe them. Hang up. Go to your local branch, ask them if they need that information. So, income tax is now a progressive income tax in Russia. It's no longer a flat 13%. It is a 5-tier system. It's 13% under 200,000 rubles a month. And over that, it's progressive starting at 15%. It does not apply to certain categories of income. Non-labor income, which I have no clue what non-labor income is. Maybe the interest on your savings. Earnings of those who are participating in the special military operation, and families with many children, and I don't know how many is, will get their income tax refunded. So New tax laws.
Maybe 3 children, 4 children, and more.
Yeah, 12, who knows. The next one is bloggers and social media accounts with more than 10,000 subscribers must register with the Russian government. And if you don't register, you cannot have advertisements or ask for donations. You register through Goslugi, and it applies to platforms like VK, Telegram, OK, TikTok, Twitter, Zen, RuTube, YouTube, and others. So, guys like us wouldn't be able to take payments through like YouTube without being registered. I'm under 10,000.
Yeah, I don't even have to worry about. I don't even have to worry about that.
So I usually don't take questions till the end of the show, but let's go for this one, Daniel. What do you think? Do you think these laws are dystopian?
Well, I was going to ask you, Kevin, what do you think? What's behind having all these? I mean, lately, just a lot of new laws are coming out, and so uh, I don't know. I
Well,
mean,
yeah, I'll say I don't think it's dystopian. Dystopian is relating to very bad or unfair society where there's a lot of suffering. Um, an imagined world or a society where people are dehumanized or fearful. Um, I don't think it has anything to do with that because this is not a dystopian society, in my
right.
opinion.
But when it comes to driving, they have, it has been laxed in Russia with fines when it comes to, different violations. So I'm happy about that. Um,
I can tell you, I know for a fact that the traffic fines being doubled is because Russians don't tend to pay any attention to them.
mhm.
500 rubles for a speeding ticket for doing 160 kilometers an hour in a 60 or an 80 zone doesn't phase them. They don't care. Often they don't pay them. They catch up with them eventually, but this is to try to get some drivers under control. Uh,
Yeah,
we've got a we've got a lot of laws in Crimea right now about people who pass unsafely, driving in the wrong lane to pass people when there's oncoming traffic, things like that. So, my wife and I joke all the time about Russian drivers. We can always tell when we're going somewhere if somebody is a local or if they're from Moscow
hmm.
because the Moscow drivers in Crimea are the worst.
Well, that's like Jersey drivers on Long Island in New York.
Yes. So,
Anytime you saw somebody driving like, really badly, you'd catch up and you'd be like, yep, it's a New Jersey license plate.
yeah. So, um, okay. So, next topic. Somebody asked this based on, um, I did a stream a couple of weeks ago about certain applications like WhatsApp and stuff being technically banned in Russia. WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook. And somebody asked, are these apps forbidden to be on your phone when you visit Russia? These services are blocked in Russia. It's not illegal to have them on your phone. And most Russians who use them, um, use a VPN. You
Mhm.
know, we're getting to you to YouTube by way of a VPN right now. So
Kevin, are you on a lot of different social media platforms?
I am. I am. Well, tonight we are streaming live for the first time to Rumble.
Mm.
And I have not had good things to say about Rumble and their monetization policy until recently. I did finally get 90% of my video history over to them. I've got a whole 8 subscribers now, but I've got almost 2,000 views of the 5,000 required to be monetized. So, and all of my videos are primarily English, and there aren't a lot of English speakers on YouTube. So, I'm on Twitter. I have a Facebook account. I'm on it probably once every 3 months.
I have Instagram just for people like family and friends in America, and
I
I
haven't.
have
I'm rarely on it. Yeah.
VK, and that's it. That's the only
Yeah,
two I have.
I've got VK, I've got Telegram, I've got WhatsApp, I've got Signal. So I've got a good number of them. The primary ones I'm on is here, Rumble, and Telegram. Those are my primary 3.
Gotcha.
So
So, Kevin, how long? We're almost at 45 minutes. So, how long are you doing your lives now?
I'm shooting for 45 minutes, hoping to be done within an hour. Jay has given me a 1 hour limit, so she makes me shoot for 45 minutes.
And
So I
question:
have 2 more things before we get to the questions. One
Where
more
is
thing before we get to questions.
where is Vonda Grubb from? Do you know?
The U.S. I don't know where Vonda's from though.
U.S. Okay. It's just
Okay,
that's
so
not a name. I've probably
yeah,
the first time in my life I'm hearing this name.
Vonda's with me all the time. She's heavy in my comments. She's always in the stream. I was just laughing because Timothy backstage is saying it's Timothy tonight.
Yeah. Vonda's from Arizona. Okay.
Yeah. Timothy is looking for my Rumble banner, and it should be in there. Oh, yeah, there it is. Infowars Press one, yeah. There's also one that's American Crimea and American Crimea interviews. So I guess I don't have them all up there. Oh, yeah, I do. Here we go. Here's another one. This is what we're going out on tonight. And if I'm streaming just about Crimea, it's, Lord forbid, the same thing, but without interviews on the end. So I'm not real original on things like that. So, RooTube. I actually have RooTube out there too, Timothy. I think I put RooTube in there. Should be at the top of the list. So the last thing I've got on my list is because this seems to be a big thing and I'm getting tired of people panicking and panicking other people about it. Taxes. Don't get panicked about taxes. There is an order from October of 2024 that updates the list of countries that do not provide income and tax information to Russia. And therefore, Russia does not give them information either. And the link is in the description below. And somebody made the comment to me that they were told that Sberbank, despite sanctions, transmit information about American customers to the United States. What do I think about that? What I think about that is bullshit.
God bless you.
So that's what I have to say about that.
Well, you know what Trump said. Now he's going to sign an act where Americans won't have to pay taxes living abroad.
Yep, we'll see. Trump has said a lot of things, and what can I say? Okay. So
I know your feelings about.
Yep. So questions. Let's go through the list here. Christopher is saying immigration officials may get pissy if they see an unfinished building. Concrete pad only with walls and a roof. Christopher, put the windows in it and put some lights on the top floor and pull out sofa and move into it, and they will not get pissy with you. It is not uncommon for Russians to live in an unfinished house for 10 to 12 years. They build what they can as they have the money. As long as you have walls, a roof, yep, this guy here, windows, so it's sealed up. You can live in it. You've got electricity, you've got water, a toilet. You're okay. You can live in it. You can register in it.
Oh,
So,
we put in a beautiful outhouse with a ring. It's all professional, you know. It has a ring in it and everything. Oh, it's great.
yep. Michael is saying that he thinks the changes in regulations with biometric data, SIM cards, is a way to curb the illegal migrant issue. Partially, yes. The biometric data in particular, but it also gives them information on people who may be unfriendly to the country coming in. And the SIM cards is specifically because there's a lot of people, especially elderly people, getting scammed out of millions of rubles
Yeah.
by Country 404. And I can tell you at my age, even though I'm technically not retirement age, I often get called by my friendly security guys at Spurbank that I know by first name at this point. And they say, "Do you know this guy you're sending money to us?" Yep. Okay, that's all we wanted to know. They'll ask you very specific questions.
Yeah, anytime someone calls and they tell me they're from a bank, I just say, no, thank you,
Yeah.
goodbye.
Yeah. My security guys call me rather than blocking my account and making me go to the bank. And I know them, so I know what their phone number is.
Nice.
Let's see. This guy is just a little bit of a troublemaker out in our chat, but I'll answer his question. Do I think Russia has more freedom of speech than America and the West? I did a stream on freedom of speech and the United States versus Russia back several weeks ago. Go out into my playlist and search for freedom of speech. I did a whole video on it. That'll answer what I think about it. And that's all I'll say here. Michael, trying to find a VPN service with a Russian server capability under sanctions if you're in the US, just as FYI. Yes, I cannot legally advertise VPN services here, but if you need one that works in Russia, send me a PM in Telegram and I will help you out. I think I gave Michael one already. How does the tax process work in Russia? LA Thorn, man, that's a big one. If you're a business owner, know that if you are an individual, it's the new progressive tax thing. It starts at 13% of your income, 15% over 200,000. If you are a sole proprietor, just to use a US type term, here it's an individual company. You have, I believe on mainland, it's 6%. In Crimea for the rest of this year, it's 3%, and then we'll go up to 6% as well. If you're a corporation, you pay 40% of your business income. And the way that works, since I have one of those, is they charge me 40% of everything I take in, and then I have to file all my receipts for my expenses to try to get some of it back, which you don't get a whole lot of it back. Now, I'm going to say this just because I have 11 minutes left, and I'm going to get this out of the way because it's had me pissed off all day over one guy who sent $1,000 through me and then pissed and moaned that he got like 86 rubles to the dollar based on the $1,000 he sent. Well, he neglected to subtract out my fee from it, the exchange rates, getting it from there to here, and everything else. He did it based on, I sent you this much, I should have gotten this much because Sberbank says the exchange rate is this.
Excuse me? What do you mean your fee? Come on, Kevin.
I know, Daniel, I should work for free. Just like I know you teach English for free.
Yeah.
You know, I tell you what, I'll do it for free as soon as I can go to the supermarket and I can say, well, let me take my milk home free because after all, you don't work hard enough to earn anything. So, I'll tell you, if you send $1,000, it's under my minimum, you will get a crappy exchange rate. That's the first thing. Second, if you don't want to take the fees out of it before you calculate things, you're not being fair. I won't help you. Screw you. Go away. I have a lot of people who are reasonable. They understand it costs me a lot. I have to, because my money comes through a services company in the United States, I have no deductions in the United States. So I'm paying everything I get, this $1,000 I got from this guy. I will end up paying at the end of the year a good 12% of it in income tax. Then I've transferred it here. I've transferred some on to him. Anything that I got in fees out of it, I have to pay a Russian tax on it.
Yeah.
You know, plus all the banks in between. So, yeah.
That's no excuse, Kevin, to have a fee. Mamma mia.
Timothy says I didn't talk about tax information exchange with Russia. Sure I did. Didn't I? Order from October listing the countries that don't provide income and tax information to Russia. Yeah, I talked about that, Timothy.
What about the license? You can exchange your license for a Russian license.
Driver's license?
Yeah.
No. You cannot exchange your license for a license.
Yeah, there's
Oh, here we go. Here's the question.
certain countries you can.
European countries you can, but
Not
only,
America.
yeah, only until April 2025. Any foreigner that comes to this country as of April of 2025 has 90 days to take the test and get a Russian license. And that includes the written and driving test. So it becomes an even playing field for everybody.
I thought I heard though there is a law where if you have a driver's license from it has to be from certain countries, like
Under the
friendly
new
countries.
laws, no. You
You
have to
can
take
just
the test to show that you know Russian road laws
oh,
because they
I
are
thought
slightly
you
different than European ones. Currently, you can do that. You still have to take the written test, you don't have to take the driving test.
boy, the written's harder.
Yes. Um,
So there's no
so
simple
Vonda,
exchange.
yeah, Vonda, how much do you get if you transfer $1,000? It depends. It depends on a lot of things. Um, Today, on $1,000, this guy got about 90,000 rubles, which is based on 1,000, a 90-to-1 exchange rate. And he was complaining that Alpha Bank was 96-to-1 today. So, basically, he lost 6 rubles per dollar. And, you know, part of that was because the money goes from US dollars to Canadian to Turkish lira to US dollars to rubles. So you lose money in the exchange rates. So
Wow.
figure, take whatever you're sending, subtract 7.5% from it, take the listed Sberbank exchange rate, multiply it by that on the day that it arrives in Russia. It's volatile. Yesterday it was 94-to-1. Today it was 96.7-to-1. Last Friday it was 103-to-1. So a lot of variables can't give you, a simple answer to that. So no simple exchange. I do not do simple exchanges. It costs me money to get money here. If you can find a way to do it simply and you want to do it, go right ahead. Don't bother me. And quite honestly, I
No,
don't
no, no,
typically.
Kevin. No, they're
Uh,
talking about a simple exchange with driver's license.
nope. No simple exchange under the new rules. Oh, Vanda asked me this one in the YouTube comments. Chemtrails, smart meters. Chemtrails, define a chemtrail.
Oh, don't get started with the, wait, hold on.
Yeah, don't get started on that.
Is Christopher in the chat? Don't get started if Christopher's in the chat.
Yeah. I'll tell you why. Because if you use crypto on your own and transfer your own money and you're not using a legal exchange and I find out about it, I'll turn you in. The guys I work for actually work for this division. It's illegal if you are not using a licensed Russia-based exchange to do your money exchanges. Those of you who move crypto on your own and use the exchanges listed on bestchange.ru, since everybody knows that's where you can do it, you are breaking the law. The FSB is tracking those exchanges, and those exchanges are being shut down because they're not legal in Russia, and those exchanges are being traced in Russia. I know the guy who gave them the ability to trace those exchanges. You happen to know the Russian language word for the name of the center for doing the completion of the biometric data card? No, I do not. Go to the immigration people, they'll help you out. Trust me, they will point you in the right direction. Or the multifunction center.
I know the word for apple.
Okay.
1 minute.
Whew. 1 minute. Last question. Well, 3 minutes.
What do you mean 3 minutes? It's 9:59.
We started 3 minutes late. 2 minutes late.
Okay.
Somebody was chatting away.
That must have been me.
Yeah, I'm looking at the number up on the screen up there.
I have a question.
Okay.
Your first thought that comes to your mind about the LA fires.
As somebody who lived in California for a long time, I know how much this is propaganda being played on the Russian side and the US side. Yes, Trump says I warned Newsom that he had to fill the reservoirs and have plenty of water. That's easier said than done in California. Often the reservoirs are not full. I used the example with my wife today of Crimea. Well, 404 had the Dnieper Canal blocked. Crimean reservoirs were not full, and we had major forest fires here every year. So, was that the Crimean government's fault? No. Just like it's not the California government's fault. Firefighters not being able to do their job because they don't have water in the hydrants, that's not uncommon. We had a home in California that had a swimming pool, and in order to get a license to have the swimming pool, we had to give the forestry department permission to potentially damage the swimming pool, to bring helicopters in and dip water out of the swimming pool to fight forest fires.
Wow.
Not having enough firefighters and having to bring in Canadians and firefighters from other states. This has happened every year for as long as I moved to California back in 1981. Whenever there's a major forest fire, they bring in firefighters from Canada and other states to fight the fires. Colorado had major forest fires last summer, and they brought in Canadians and firefighters from other states. So there is nothing
Great.
going on there that isn't normal. It's all propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the fact that the head of the LA Fire Department is a lesbian, is she making diversity hires or isn't she? Is she hiring unqualified firefighters? I'm in no position to call that.
Oh,
But
I
I
didn't
know
know
what a
that.
tough job those guys have. I
Yeah.
had a coffee shop that I sold the summer before a forest fire went through the city we lived in Northern California, and it flattened everything.
I mean, it flattened everything.
Yes,
That's possible just by just a fire like flattening everything. I don't.
because it's dry. The wet season in California runs from December, usually, to about March. So it's been dry season. You get a fire in August, September, something like that. And those forest fires, you can't stop them
Wow,
with the high winds. And it's
scary stuff.
mountains, you know.
Scary stuff.
Think about it. When you got a house like Hunter Biden on the side of a slope like this, hanging out like this, how do the firefighters get to it?
Who? What motivates somebody to move and live in California if they have to deal with such extreme weather? Oh,
The
okay.
beauty. What motivates me to live in Crimea? We have dry weather like that too,
Mm.
you know. Now, I've got a 2,000-liter water tank sitting here just in case.
Oh, wow.
I'll be standing there pissing on the fire with my hose if I have to, but
Right.
so
Okay.
that's my thoughts on that.
All
I
right.
didn't answer Vonda's question about smart meters because I don't know what you're talking about smart meters. I have a smart meter. It's an electric meter, and the electric company can read it from their office in Yalta. So,
So the name in Russian for the center, for the biometric center, Timothy wrote it. Migratio, Migrazioni Center.
Migration Center.
Yeah.
Here, I'll even put it in the chat. Hey, there's Odious. Was missing you, pal. All right.
All right, Kevin. Thank you for
Yep.
having me.
Yep. Thanks for coming, Daniel. Always a pleasure.
Yep.
And thank you to Timothy backstage. Um, and those of you who don't know, Timothy is standing in for Jay, our normal producer. They happen to be married. Jay is off doing work stuff today, and Timothy is not teaching diving today. So, those of you who will be living in Crimea or in Sochi, somewhere near the sea, soon will be able to take lessons from Sir Timothy on diving. He is a certified instructor
Nice.
using Timothy, refresh my memory, the respirator thingy bobber. Yeah, he's going to tell
What?
me.
You mean
Open and closed circuit. So, and
so
here's his YouTube channel. Go check it out if you like fishies.
so is it deep diving he does? Like
Yeah,
scuba dive? Like scuba
yeah,
diving?
scuba diving.
Gotcha.
Rebreather, that's it. So check
Oh,
out his YouTube channel. He's got videos from when he's diving. And
wait, where does he live?
he's in the UK right now.
Ah, UK.
Wreck diving, cave diving, 100 meters. So, very experienced gentleman. Excuse me, dog. So, that said, everybody, thanks for coming. Sorry to be blunt and fast with things, but
No, 45 minutes to an hour was perfect.
yep. So, thank you all for coming. And
Thank you,
thank you,
Kevin.
Timothy, for your work. Tell your
Yep.
lovely wife we missed her. And пока.
С чего начинается Родина? С окошек, горящих вдали, со старой отцовской буденовки, что где-то в шкафу мы нашли. А может, она начинается со стука вагонных колес, из клятвы, которую в юности ты ей в своем сердце принес. С чего начинается Родина?